Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on back. In this one today, we're going to be ranking the top 5 worst features that Treyarch have added into Zombies. These won't be in any specific order since I think they're all equally as bad. So with all that out of the way with, let's get right into it. Coming into our number 5 spot, we have the storyline. Now, before you guys destroy me in the comments, hear me out. I think there are great side stories that are told in Zombies, like on Mob of the Dead and Shangri-La. Those maps combine gameplay and story in a very beautiful way. The main Ether storyline is the story that I do have a few problems with, however. There's too much going on, and it's taking up a huge portion of the gameplay development for Zombies. During Black Ops 1, I could somewhat follow along with what was going on, but after Moon, I was completely lost with the story. Even after watching multiple videos, I still don't fully understand it. When your main character, which in this case is Richtofen, has close to 10 different variations from other timelines and universes, you can't expect 99% of the population to understand what's going on. Now, I'm not saying that storytelling in Zombies shouldn't be a thing. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I think story should be a very important thing in this game. I mean, if you look at the most popular maps in Zombies, they all have the premise crew as the main cast. The main problem that I have with the story is that 85% of the player base don't even get to experience it because the majority of players are not doing the Easter eggs, and the 15% who do experience and do the Easter eggs, less than half of them are going to understand what's going on. The story is too complex and too hidden from players. I think if they made it better to understand and more accessible, then it can be a better experience. The direction that they took in Cold War Zombies I think was a good start, so hopefully they can stay on that path for the future. Moving into our number 4 spot, we have game modes. Now again, I do think there are some great game modes in Zombies like Grief and Churn, and even Rush from Black Ops 4. The problem is that there are twice as many bad game modes as well. Gauntlets, Cranked, Jingle Hells, and Tutorial Mode are just to name a few. These game modes took up way too much in development and didn't really add anything valuable to the game. Gauntlets was just a list of random challenges that you had to do in-game, but with no good rewards, there really wasn't a point in ever doing them. Cranked was a normal game of Zombies, but with a timer. The problem was that for the longest time you couldn't do the Easter egg, nor could you spawn in with a loadout weapon, so for every one small feature that they added, they ended up taking away 2 big features. It overall just wasn't that good. Same goes for Jingle Hells. Great concept, and I liked the festive aspect, but you couldn't do the Easter eggs, so nobody really cared. Game modes in Zombies aren't only just these one-off gimmick modes to switch up the gameplay a bit, sometimes they completely alter the way that you can play the game, like with Outbreak, which is one of the most controversial game modes I have ever seen in gaming. A lot of people love it, but there is an equal amount of those who hate it. Personally, I'm on the side that loves it. It has the potential to completely change the way that people view Zombies, and if done right, it could change for the better. Overall though, a lot of the game modes as they currently stand in Zombies, even Outbreak to some extent, have proven to not be so good for the game. So for that, I had to put them on this list. Next up on our list, we have a bit more of a specific one, and that's the increase in zombie strength. Now, from the start of World at War, Zombies moved fairly slow and downed you with 2 hits if you didn't have Jug. For the longest time, this was the case. During Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2, Zombies attacked a lot faster and did the infamous windmill attack that would instantly down you if you didn't have Jug. The Zombies felt more realistic during this time, but you would take a lot of stupid downs in the lower rounds. During Black Ops 3, they fixed this issue by having a 3-hit down system, and in my opinion, these were the best Zombies because they were predictable and you didn't have any immediate deaths in the lower rounds. But then for some reason, they had to keep on changing it. Black Ops 4 was worse than Black Ops 3 when it comes to Zombies, but it still wasn't too bad. The only big issue that I had was that they made the zombies faster than the player after a certain round, which completely removed the ability for you to train. These zombies also moved in a lot of weird patterns. On super open maps like 9, it wasn't too noticeable, but on close corner maps like Blood of the Dead, the zombies would move in really strange ways that made them very hard to predict. They didn't stop there though. Cold War Zombies, as much as I love the mechanics in this game, had some horrible changes done to the zombies. First, the zombies no longer did a consistent amount of damage, and instead they did an increasing amount over time. This was a horrible change because it made it almost impossible to predict how many hits the player could take before they went down. Not only that, but they carried over the super sprinters from Black Ops 4, which only made the high round experience worse. This feature is a bit more specific, but the way that the zombies interact with the character plays a huge role in whether the zombies mode is good or not. So I decided to put it on this list. Coming into our number 2 spot, we have microtransactions. Now, from a business standpoint, I understand why microtransactions are in the game. They are incredibly profitable, especially for a game like Call of Duty. And when it comes to zombies, I was okay with them up until Black Ops 4 came out. Black Ops 3 had Gobblegum, and I liked the system because if you really wanted to speed up the process, you could drop some cash, but if you just played the game, you could get a lot fairly quickly. And even if you didn't, as long as you had one of whatever Gobblegum you were using, you could just close the application and then save it. Black Ops 4 was a much worse system because you had to put in a lot more in-game time if you wanted elixirs or talismans, and even if you spent money, it just wasn't worth it since most of the elixirs were really bad. What made this system even worse, however, was that it almost felt like you were forced to use them because it took up the whole D-pad on console and they took up the majority of the HUD on your screen. Cold War Zombies doesn't have any pay-to-win microtransactions, but they have a lot of skins that aren't even available to the player unless they spend money on the game, making half the cosmetics inaccessible for free-to-play players. The worst part about microtransactions in COD is that they take away from the in-game progression. The majority of the store cosmetics look much cooler and better than the ones that you could earn in-game. This makes the gameplay experience much worse because there is no longer anything worth grinding for in-game when you could just buy something in the store that looks so much better. There are a lot of ways that Activision could fix this issue, but they probably never will because it's currently making them billions. It's a feature that for the most part negatively impacts the game, so for that I decided to put it on this list. And coming into our number 1 spot, we have Outbreak. I talked about this game mode a little bit earlier in this video during the game modes portion, but there is so much going on with this one game mode that I decided to give it its own category. On one hand, I love Outbreak because it's a good break from the round-based game mode, and there's so much that you can do while playing it. On the other hand, if it gains too much popularity, which it seems to, it could mark the end for the normal round-based mode. We already had Vanguard Zombies almost completely go fully towards Outbreak as the main mode for zombies, and for this next game, it only seems to be implemented even further. Outbreak is not just some simple side game mode that takes a little bit of development time to produce, it instead takes up the majority of development, which in terms gives us less zombie maps. Cold War Zombies had a good balance with 1 Outbreak mode and 4 Zombies maps, but in Vanguard we barely received our first Zombies map halfway through the game's life cycle, and it ended up being one of the only maps that we ever received for the entire game. I like the new audience that Outbreaks brings to the game mode, but I don't like how it has to come at the cost of all the features that longtime zombie players adored. Outbreak was one of the biggest things implemented into COD Zombies, and it could be the make it or break it for the franchise. We just have to wait and see. Anyways guys, it's going to wrap up the video for today. If you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, do all that, so leave your comments down below if you want to see me do any other type of content. Check down the description as well for more zombie related videos, and yeah, I got nothing much else to say, so peace.